Hey, what is up YouTube? Coach Ashes here bringing you another video, and today I want to give you my thoughts and kind of a review on the Gears 5 tech test that took place the last 2 weekends. It's officially over. We now have to wait patiently until September 10th or September 6th if you get the pre-order or super bundle, whatever they're doing to get the game early. I think it's September 6th. But the tech test is over, so I'm going to give you guys my complete thoughts and opinions on different aspects, some feedback maybe for the developers if they're watching this video, and yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so if you guys have watched any of my videos before, you know that I have a lot of comments and critiques about Gears of War 4's matchmaking. It seems to be quite frequently where you will have the situation that you run into full teams as a solo queue player. And unfortunately, what we saw in the Gears 5 tech test is the same thing. There would be times where I'd be queuing King of the Hill or even Escalation solo, and I'd be running into a complete stacked team of 5 pre-made individuals. So this means that a group of 5 people came together and queued up together, and then they got put into a game where I'm queuing by myself. I don't know my teammates. I don't have a way to talk to them unless I readjust my audio settings and plug my microphone into my headset into my controller. So I'm at a massive disadvantage compared to these 5 people. And under no circumstances in any game that I can think of should a solo player run into a pre-stacked queue of 5 in a ranked match. Now, if there's a casual matchmaking or something like that, sure, go ahead and combine people however you see fit. But in a ranked match where the match actually matters towards something other than just for fun, then there should be no reason that one team should get such a massive advantage. The issue for me is this forces me to always queue with 4 other people, which I'm kind of a lone wolf. I don't always have 4 people to queue with, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are like me who don't have pre-made teams or groups of friends that they want to queue up with all the time. Sometimes I just want to play the game and listen to music and relax, and there's no way for me to do that in a somewhat competitive environment like a ranked match without having a full pre-made team. Another issue I was noticing with the matchmaking is there was a lot of times where players who were new or beginners were queuing into games and getting into my game specifically when I was the highest rank. So I'm Masters. I was 40th, I think, at the end of the tech test in Masters. So in the top 100, I was ranked 40th in King of the Hill, and I would still get players on my team who were brand new beginners. I'm hoping this is just something from the tech test and that the matchmaking won't be the same in the final version of the game, but we don't know for sure one way or another. So hopefully they don't make it that way. Hopefully there's actually a skill-based matchmaking as well as the separation of solo, duo, and full teams. In terms of the weapons feel amazing. I think the Lancer is perfect where it is. A lot of people complain that it did a lot, almost too much damage. For me personally, I think it's in a good spot. I think it counters the movement. The Marxa is a weapon that could use a little nerf. I think the ammo count should go down a little bit. It's too strong, especially in escalation when you can put it on the sides of the map. The shotgun switching from 8 bullets to 6 bullets is definitely a change that's going to take people a little while to get used to. I do feel like the reload mechanic for the shotgun should be changed. So right now, if you catch a perfect active, then you reload all 6 bullets. If you catch just a normal reload, you get 3 bullets. And if you jam your gun or let it finish the reload entirely, you get 6 bullets. The problem is there's still a cooldown timer on the perfect active reload, which means you could catch a perfect active, fight a fight right away, use all 6 bullets, and not be able to reload your gun in its entirety. So I think that should be removed only for the shotgun. I think you should be able to perfect reload at any time. I mean, there'd be times where I would have no ammo, reload it with a perfect active to get 6 bullets, fight a fight and only have 2 bullets left, have to reload it twice to then get back to full ammo count, and then continue on. So I think that's something that could be adjusted a little bit. Also, the boom shot is a little bit hit or miss. It feels really inconsistent, and you would think that putting a power weapon like a rocket launcher on the map should pretty much guarantee you kills, assuming that you can aim it. And right now the boom shot doesn't feel that way. It almost feels like the Gears of War UE boom shot, where it was like kind of a coin toss whether or not it would get the kill, and it's almost used more as like a cow herder where you can push people around the map depending on how you rotate the boom. In terms of movement, the movement felt great. There was a lot of people who were complaining like it was slower, and then there was people who were complaining that it was faster. To me, I don't understand that. It felt really good to me. The weapons and the movement balanced really well. The up A speed boost was there, but not really noticeable. It just, you know, it just felt like clean movement to me. The only thing I noticed that there were sometimes walls that were stickier than others, or even corners. I think people were complaining about glitches where it almost seemed like you would lag if you would get down going around a corner. Your body would lag backwards to the other side of it and maybe put you in range of, or in the sight line of the other team, and you would get killed. But overall, I think the movement was really clean. I would just like to see the stickiness, so to speak, of the walls cleaned up a little bit, or maybe that like glitchiness. It could have been server side lag maybe, but whatever that was causing that, I would like to see that cleaned up a little bit. Otherwise, I like the movement a lot. The miss rolls were easily punishable, I know, because I miss roll way too much. So props to the coalition for how the movement feels. One thing I do want to note about the weapons and the shooting is the hit markers were great, but I was noticing there was often times where I'd start lancering someone, see my bullets hitting, and then there would be a hit marker kind of delay, or a hit registration delay, where I would be starting to shoot on them, hitting them, and then it would like almost take a half a second for the hit markers to start registering, and me starting to get the tactile feedback of, hey, you're hitting that person, and the audio cue that I'm actually hitting that person. And then this was kind of further confirmed to me when I would have moments where I would be shooting someone, go back down into cover, and then literally a full second later, I would get headshotted by an M-bar or a sniper, despite being in full cover. And no, I went back and looked at the clips. They weren't covers where you could see me over top of. It was purely just there was some sort of delay in terms of what the server registered for that person's point of view and what my game was registering. And I usually play on like 20 to 40, maybe 50 ping if I'm on like a really bad server. So I don't know if that was a lag thing, but overall the hit registration issue seemed to come up a lot, and I'd like to see that maybe addressed to just make it feel a little bit cleaner, because I wasn't noticing that on LAN at E-League. But let's talk about the health system. A lot of debate and comments and concerns have been openly discussed on Twitter about the new Omen. For me personally, I like the new Omen. I think that while it does impede your screen, and maybe there's some changes, maybe making the opacity a little bit greater to make it a little bit more transparent or see-through, would be beneficial. But at the same time, I liked how much it took up of your screen. I liked the sense of urgency that it caused, like, hey, you're hurt and you need to do something about it, or you need to not do something and let it regenerate. I liked that better than just the Omen in the center of the screen. I felt like as long as I was in a fight and I was still like keeping track and predicting well, I could still track an opponent even if I was full red or one shot. That being said, I do see that why a lot of the complaints are valid in terms of it just obstructing the view a little bit too much. It took me a while to get used to tracking opponents through it, and there would definitely be times where I would, you know, be in the middle of a fight and then kind of lose track of someone, whether, you know, if they changed up their bounce or air canceled and went a different direction. It would often become a little bit difficult to keep track of. So overall, I like the new Omen. I like the reverse Omen, whatever you want to call it. I like that it makes you play a little bit smarter because it makes you feel more hurt than you actually are, and it'll take some time for people to get used to it, but the opacity could be changed a little bit. In terms of game modes, there was only 3 offered in the tech test: Arcade, which is the more casual game mode that's new to Gears 5, as well as King of the Hill and Escalation 2.0. So for Arcade, it felt fine. It felt like a really good, easy, casual game mode. It was a little bit different with the whole like different characters will allow you to do different things or get different weapons. It made it fun. It made it interesting. I know most people were gunning for the sniper. It was a good casual game mode. I didn't play a whole lot of it after the servers got fixed, but when that was the only game mode that you really could get into, I was playing it a good amount and it felt fun. It was fine. It's a good social game mode. King of the Hill, I loved. I played almost exclusively King of the Hill the whole weekend, and like I said before, I got the top 40 in the King of the Hill Masters tier. There are a few things I would change, however. The way you could change your loadout after dying. Sometimes you would die and the respawn timer would be so quick that you wouldn't actually get a chance to change your loadout. And because the game was defaulting you to your smoke grenade every game, if you didn't remember to change it at the very beginning, or just say you wanted to change it from whatever grenade you had, you couldn't really do so unless you got the perfect type of death where you had a nice long like 7 to 9 second respawn timer that gave you enough time to change your weapon. Now I turned off kill cams because they cause like a little bit of a lag glitch, and I'll touch on that later, but even with those disabled, the option to change your loadout didn't pop up right away. So if you were like less than 6 seconds, you weren't able to change your loadout. So that's something I would like to be changed. You should be able to change your loadout from the minute you die, and no matter what the respawn timer is, that should give you enough time to really change your loadout. The other buggy thing about the King of the Hill game type was the respawns. There was a lot of times where I would notice you could pretty much have control of the hill. The other team could be fighting for control of the hill, and then people on your team could respawn on the other side of the map while people on the other team could respawn close to the hill. And to me, that doesn't make sense. There'd be times where like I would have control of the hill with my team, maybe I would die pushing up a little bit too far to stop the enemy team's push, and then I would respawn on the other side of the map behind where the enemy team was pushing from originally, and the people that I might have killed in that fight are spawning right next to the hill. So I think the respawns in King of the Hill are a little bit buggy and need to be readjusted, because you shouldn't have hill control and then spawn super far away from the hill, but at the same time you shouldn't spawn super close to the hill. It should be a nice neutral thing, and the hills or the respawns should be able to be controlled if you're organized enough where you can kind of force respawns. In terms of Escalation 2.0, I really like the game type for competitive. I think it's detailed and it has a lot of depth to it. There's going to be a lot of meta to it, but at the same time I think it's going to be really difficult for newcomers, and I would like to see maybe it explained a little bit better, or maybe there'd be some tutorials in the training grounds for new players to understand the game type better, because it's going to take a lot of repetition for new players to really catch on to all of the conditions and meta of Escalation 2.0. And I'll be doing my best on this channel to provide content to help educate new players, but I think the game should provide something as well. So hopefully there's something to help, you know, help people understand the game type itself. The last note for game types is I really hope Gears 5 ships, or at least very soon after comes with a bomb game type. I truly genuinely believe a bomb game type would be amazing for Gears 5 and for Gears esports, so hopefully that's something they're working on and just haven't told us about. In terms of maps, Training Ground was by far my favorite map, and I liked it even better the second weekend when they removed the cryo gun and added the sniper M-bar. I think that made the map a little bit more balanced and a little less casual feeling for King of the Hill. That being said, I think District as a map is a little bit too open in the middle. So again, going back to like the full squads in ranked play on District, unless you have a really organized team, there's no way to make it a good push either in Escalation or in King of the Hill unless you have a full team, because of the way the map is in the middle. It's too open. There's not enough cover. There's too much ground to cross between the covers that are there, and it makes it just really difficult to move around the map without taking very elongated paths around the outside border. So I'd like to see maybe some taller covers or a little bit more obstruction of view. Those middle houses that we were calling blue and green room, I think those houses should be changed. Their windows see pretty much every angle on the map, and so they're a little bit too overpowered for both teams to have one. I'd like to see that adjusted as well, but that's really the only changes I would make to that map. And as for some general thoughts and concerns and just opinions and feedback on Gears 5, I think capping hills both in Escalation and King of the Hill should be a little bit less points. Right now you'll see that the people who cap home hill, as long as they can get 1 to 2 kills around, they're always going to be at the top of the list, and that's going to cause issues, especially early on when you have the people who don't understand how to play Escalation 2.0 capping the hill because they just see a ring and they run to it because it's close. And you don't want a full team running and capping the home hill because you lose map priority early on. So I think capping hills should be worth less points. That way the people who are out there in the fight have a chance to also be the people who pick the weapons, especially since they're going to be the ones dictating the pace of the weapons that they're fighting for. This is a really small thing, but the leaderboards in Masters often say percent. In fact, I think they only say the percent, so it'll say top 1%, top 2%, top 3%. I found this to be a little redundant. Obviously, if I'm in the top 100 people, I'm in a top percentage. I'd rather just see what number I am on the list, because I was noticing that it would say top 40% and I was 40th, obviously. So I'd rather just see the number, especially in the Masters tier. In the other tiers you can put percentages, but in Masters specifically, since it's a leaderboard, just tell me what rank I am. So I mentioned earlier the kill cams, and I disabled mine pretty quickly, even though I think it's a really cool feature and it can be very useful. for not only like confirming or figuring out how you died, but also for content in the future. I would love to see kill cams be something that's not off or on in the settings, but more something where you hold a button to see the kill cam. So while you're waiting to respawn and you have that respawn timer, whether it be in King of the Hill or Escalation or Execution or whatever game types come out in Gears 5, I would like you to be able to just hold a button on your controller, like hold X to view the kill cam, and then that be the option. That way it doesn't cause any of that glitchiness, because what we were seeing in the tech test is if you had kill cam on, all the players after you died would just kind of lag walk into walls and then the kill cam would start. So that's really ineffective if you're trying to call out after you've died. Say you're playing in a competitive environment, most players are going to turn off the kill cam, but the kill cam can be a cool feature, and it could be useful to see, like, if you got shot from somewhere else, where that person was shooting you from. So kill cam should be something where you just hold a button to see it, but you don't have to see it. Another thing that I found a little bit annoying was the bot autofill that they added during the second weekend. So obviously in arcade, bots were filled in if players quit out or if there just weren't enough people in the game. I get that, it's the non-competitive game mode, so it's very casual. But in King of the Hill and in Escalation, which they ended up removing it from Escalation, but in King of the Hill specifically, which is what I was playing, there'd be a lot of times where players would quit out and then I would get a bot, and that bot was a casual bot. So realistically, that bot was almost less useful and more of a hindrance or hurting my team more than they were useful. So one example I noticed was there was a time where on training grounds, the bot got into that kind of mid top tower area and was just sitting there shooting across the map, putting in a little bit of damage into people. But because he was sitting there, he was pulling our respawns to where the sniper / M-bar spawns and forcing us to spawn really far away from the hill. Whereas if he had been anywhere closer, we would have spawned somewhere closer as well. So there was times where the bots were actively hurting our teams. Not only that, but there was times where they would walk up behind people and not shoot them or not kill them. So realistically, just having a casual bot is not helpful at all. And I'd rather it be a straight up 4v5 than having a 4v5 with a casual bot possibly hurting us. I touched on this briefly already, but I believe that the tutorial for the game, the boot camp that you go through or whatever, should also teach you basics about the game mode. So once it goes through all the mechanics and the features and things like that, have extra options that teaches you how to play Escalation 2.0, how to play King of the Hill, so on and so forth, because there are going to be new people trying to understand the game, and it would be very beneficial for them to understand how the game type works rather than just knowing the very bare minimum basics of the mechanics and then going in blind to how to actually win the game that they're playing. And the last little thing I want to touch on is a feature I think being added might be helpful, and that is adding more rewards and more benefits for people reviving other teammates. So I have a few thoughts on this, and the reason these thoughts are coming together is because I notice very often players would forgo reviving their teammates in order to keep fighting a fight, when realistically reviving the teammate could provide a better chance of winning that fight, and a lot of players didn't seem to understand that, especially in King of the Hill, which is what I was playing. So what I would like to see is maybe some sort of feature where reviving also provides like a second or half a second of immunity to damage. Maybe making that whole mechanic of reviving somebody a way to outplay somebody, like forcing a revive while you're in the middle of a fight to make somebody choke their last shot and then coming off of it and shooting them. It would just be an interesting mechanic and technique that players could use to kind of help elevate the skill gap while also having an outplay. I just think it'd be something that's super interesting. On top of that, I think there should be rewards and almost like promotion for reviving teammates. So the same way that there's kill 90 opponents or execute 6 opponents or whatever the case may be, there should be ones that are revive based. So revive 30 people, revive 50 people, things like that, to encourage people to actually hold the revive button and help their teammates out rather than just being this solo player. I actually sent messages to people saying, hey, next time revive your teammates a little bit more because you cost us some rounds. And I'm not doing that to be toxic. I'm doing that to genuinely help players understand that reviving teammates can be super beneficial. And if you watch my streams at all, you saw that 9 times out of 10, I went for the revive more than I went for finishing the fight. So I would like to see this kind of conveyed to the casual audience, or maybe the people who are just going to be in ranked matches and aren't necessarily used to competitive, where you are trained to revive a little bit more. I'd like to see this conveyed to them, and hopefully, you know, get the community more involved in actually using all those features like reviving your teammates. All right, guys, so I think that's the end of all my notes. I have them right behind my camera. If you have any, you know, thoughts or any feedback from the Gears 5 tech test, or any comments on any of the things that I said, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to read them and kind of get your guys' thoughts on how Gears 5 is looking based off this weekend. I did my best to avoid talking about anything that were well-known glitches or issues or things that the coalition was already well aware of, and just focus more on the things that I noticed that weren't really mentioned, or things I saw on Twitter. If you guys like the video, make sure to hit that button, the thumbs up button. I really appreciate the support that you guys have been showing on my content lately. And of course, if you want to see my content the moment it comes out, make sure you click the subscribe button down below and the little bell icon so you get notifications. I don't know what I was drawing right there. I was gonna draw a bell, but I like half-assed it and finished, or didn't finish it, whatever. Make sure you guys subscribe. I appreciate the support, and I will see you all in the next video. Make sure you are paying attention to my social medias as well, because I've got some exciting stuff coming very, very soon. And I know you guys will enjoy it as much as I am excited to tell you about it. So thank you all. See you next time.